the roll. Ms. Sonier,
Present.
Ms. Cousins,
Here.
Ms. Fowler,
Here.
Ms. Fowler, Mr. Davis.
Here.
Ms. Jones,
Here.
Dr. Roberts.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Adams.
Good evening to the board and to the public. I only have one item, Madam President, to address, and then obviously to answer some questions specific to this item. The board should have on their table the COVID update. And so this is a second semester COVID update based upon data that we received through Thursday of last week. I start with the additional information, and the board has a copy. I'm not doing the PowerPoint presentation, but walking through the board through the presentation. We received information that we're receiving 600 tests from DESE, and we have about 1,600 tests that were remaining. To give the board an update in terms of nurses, we have 15 nurse vacancies. That number has increased from about 6 or 7 in the beginning of the year as nurses have decided to move in other places, and it's caused some challenges for us, although all schools have some nursing services. We have purchased some 8,000 N95 masks. We reshifted our contact tracing team such that the contact tracing team is involved the network superintendents providing direct support to their clusters of schools, which has made it much easier in terms of reducing the amount of time that families are getting information as well as schools. We're working with the Urban League to secure additional testing sites for staff. The city of St. Louis has secured 20,000 N95 masks and have indicated that they will be providing those to us by the end of the week. They are also working to get additional tests as well as 30,000 surgical and children masks. And because of the new guidelines from the Biden administration, district health services, healthcare provider, UHC members will get 8 COVID tests covered at no cost every single month until the end of June. And so those are just some updates. In terms of numbers at this point in time, I want to walk the board through the numbers for the school district. During the week we returned from winter break, there were 586 students who were quarantined, 286 due to some contact in school or being in school at the elementary level. At the middle school level, 119 due to school contact, 69, high school level 128 due to school contact, 65, and one due to school contact 0 at the alternative site. The second week we got back was between the 7th and the 13th. 325 were due to school, 497 total at the elementary level, 163 due to school contact, 118, 121 due to school contact at the high school level, 65, and 2 at the alternative site due to school contact, 0. Last week, you could see that the number of students who were quarantined was 242 at the elementary level, about 161 due to school contact. At the middle school level, 31 due to school contact, 20, 68 at the high school level due to school contact, 56, and 1 still at the alternative site and due to school contact, 0. That gives you the idea that the numbers are moving in the right direction, which is really beneficial to us as we try to return to some degree of normalcy. In terms of confirmed positive cases, 176, remember at the elementary level coming back from the break. In other words, they're telling us that over the winter break, we were identified as being positive. And so only 1 due to a school contact, however, at the elementary level. At the middle school level, 456 did not come back because of the notion of quarantining based on what happened during the winter break. 0 due to school contact. High school 83 due to school contact 2. The second week, which is the 7th to the 13th, 106 due to school contact. 106 total, 13 due to school contact. Middle school level 26 due to school contact 2, and 57 due to school contact 4. 4 at the alternate site and 0 due to school contact. Last week, 63 elementary students notified us that they were positive due to school contact 0. Middle school 13 due to school contact 0, and 30 at the high school level due to school contact 2. So between all 8/9/2021 school building sports contacts that have resulted in a positive case were about 44, as we could identify, and this has to do with students. If you look at the slide below and you look at staff, again at the elementary level, 4 due to school, 4 notified us that they were being quarantined due to school exposure was 2. Middle school level 2 due to school exposure 1. 2 at the high school level due to school exposure 2. Alternative 0. The 7th to the 13th, 37 indicated that they were being quarantined staff. 18 due to school contact. 5 at the middle school level due to school contact 5. And at the high school level 6 due to school contact 2. Numbers last week, 15 notified that they were quarantining. 9 due to school contact, it was 15 total. 0 at the middle school level, and obviously 0 exposures. 3 at the high school level due to school contact 0, and at the alternative level 1 due to school contact 1. And note and understanding that week 2 and week 3, the numbers went from 10 to 14 days to 5 to 7 days. In terms of positive cases, 145 indicated that they were positive at the elementary level immediately when we returned. That was staff. 10 were due to school contacts. 23 at the middle school level, 0 due to school contact. Again, we're coming back after the break. High school, 53 total were indicated being positive due to school contact 0, and alternative 8 and 0 due to school contact. And administrators, 29 due to school contact 1. In terms of the week to 7 to the 13th, 37 total cases due to school contact 18, 6 total cases at the middle school level, 2 due to school contact, 23 at the high school level, 3 due to school contact, alternative 1 and 1 due to school contact, and 16 administrators and due to school contact 1. The last week, 28 indicated that they were confirmed positive, 5 due to school contact, 8 at the middle school level due to school contact 0, 9 at the high school level due to school contact 1, and alternative 4 and 0 due to school contact, administrators 4 and due to school contact 0. The number of cases since August that were positive was 52 as a result of some contact in school. So I kind of want to walk the board through that number. Every Thursday we get an update. This will be on our website. If you look at the next slide, which is on operations, I indicated to the board that there were some issues around food service and transportation in terms of staff. Of the 14 cafeteria leads out due to COVID the previous week or flu-related issues, 13 have returned. So mainly all of the food service workers are returned. Of the 59 food service workers out due to COVID-19 or flu-related issues, 56 of the 59 have returned. In terms of transportation, which continues to be a major challenge for us, as of January 24th, which was yesterday, we reported 18 buses not running, and of today, reported 26 buses not running. That's down from about 40 that we're getting on a daily basis. It's about drivers. It's not about anything else but drivers at this point in time. We are trying to do our best to nuance every opportunity to try to get kids transport. It's impacting around 200 kids a day. That's the actual numbers of the some 15,000 kids that we transport. It's impacting, and it's not necessarily the same kids every single day because the routes that drivers are calling out on changes. In terms of the positivity rate in the city of St. Louis, and this is data I get every single day from them, on January 4th, when we returned, the positivity rate was 34.6. On January 24th, which was yesterday, the positivity rate was 26.3. The goal for the city is 5% or less positivity rate. In terms of confirmed cases, on January 4th, from the city's perspective, there was 719. As of Monday, not Monday, as of Sunday, the number was 56 of confirmed cases that's on their dashboard that they are identifying. Questions that the board might have relative to this document?
Yes, Dr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
When bus drivers are out, does the district bear responsibility for the finance that are spent on the bus?
No, ma'am.
So is there money paid out to another mode of transportation?
The board approved $1 million for 2 other vendors as well as for taxi services. So we have leveraged other vendors to try to accommodate the deficits that exist, but they are challenged as well in terms of drivers at this point in time. But no, we don't bear the cost if a driver doesn't show up for a route. You're welcome.
Dr. Adams, I don't know if you know this information or if you have this information, but do you know the percentage of students that are eligible to be vaccinated that have been vaccinated? I think before you said maybe the city has some rough data around that.
About 20 to 25% is what we've been told
And
across the entire city, not our district, but child age who can get it. Yes.
And my other question is because students who are fully vaccinated wearing a mask but come in close contact with someone at school, they don't have to quarantine, correct?
If they're asymptomatic, that is correct.
Are we collecting data from students about whether or not they're vaccinated to help with that contact tracing process, or is that a case-by-case basis?
A case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Only case by case. We don't ask them for that information unless that impact in the classroom and the parent says, hey, I have a document to say my kid has been vaccinated and boosted. Then we take that information and make a decision to keep the kid in school, let the kid be quarantined for 5 days.
So whoever is responsible for contact tracing that kid
Collects that information, and then Mrs. Major puts it into a file that we have that's available for us to look at and see.
okay, but then that's communicated then to the parent or caregiver.
That the
thank you
child
for
can stay at
vaccination.
school.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thanks.
Yes, sir.
I just need clarification because I'm trying to make sure I understood that. So we're saying if I'm coming to school and I've been vaccinated and my classroom, someone in the classroom has COVID, a notice just comes to my parents to say your child, if they were in contact with this kid, whatever, like within this area, check for signs. But if I'm vaccinated, I can still come to school.
That is
I
correct.
just want to, okay.
That is correct. And asymptomatic. If you're symptomatic, fever, cold, coughing, yes, that's correct.
Yes, I have a question in regards to public update. I know that we have the board meetings and then we have the regular work sessions like we are today. But how often or how are we communicating with parents? Are we doing it on a biweekly basis? Do we send home flyers or something to update them on what's going on?
We have a parent digest. Mrs. Willis sends it out, I want to say every other week. We have a schedule that it goes out on a regular basis. Plus the superintendent's bulletin goes out as well. It's kind of overdue. It was supposed to go out on Friday. It's going out tomorrow. I want to give them an update regarding this. So the primary feedback right now is the parent digest that parents get on a every 2 week, every 3 week basis. Correct me, Ms. Willis? District digest, yes.
Are we doing anything on social media? to update?
I'll let Ms. Willis come up to address what we are doing.
Thank you.
She's an expert in this space. So the question was, Ms. Willis, what are we doing in terms of communicating with parents? Obviously, the district digest, but what are we doing around social media?
Communicators right now, Jordan actually handles District Digest, and we do issue the newsletter to parents, work closely with Emily Kelso to make sure that that happens. And that is sent out every other week. And again, on opposite weeks, we have the superintendent's message, but we also do interject social media messages whenever we have something important to announce. Jordan basically makes sure that if parents start calling in on the feedback lines, or if they need specific information about COVID, he updates them on the COVID line that's up there right now, where we are and when the new data will be input. So we do accept questions through our various feedback lines and through just calling in and answer parents whenever they have any kind of concerns about COVID. It has slacked off a little bit with the numbers and everything, but we still make sure that we get that up there as much as quickly as we can every week.
And my question is about the feedback line. Is it the regular district phone number or is it their special line?
They will call in on the regular district phone number and they'll hit somebody from marketing or communications.
Mhm.
But we will also take some calls over the We Hear You line, which is our new Let's Talk line. And that line has been relaunched fairly recently. So we think that some of that will pick up in the next few weeks, getting more and more questions through there. But as I said, the question seems to be tapering off a little bit when it comes to COVID.
The phone number on the Let's Talk line?
The We Hear You line
We Hear You
is
line, I'm
is
sorry.
email based.
Oh,
And they can give me their information and phone numbers, but they can also stay anonymous on that. So we have several different ways for parents to communicate and ask questions. And that also should include through principals at schools. They'll
okay.
tell us if they're getting specific types of questions coming through. And we do create FAQs. We have FAQs on the website to make sure that we're asking most of the frequently asked questions about COVID.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, that concludes my information for tonight. I know you asked some questions about the Council of Great City Schools and the HR report. They have indicated they can't travel at this point in time. And so we are still in contact with them with the hope that they will be able to come in February or March, but they were not able to come at this point in time because of the uptick in the cases. The second matter is you asked me to give you an update relative to the transformation plan. We won't begin work on that until March is when we will begin work on the transformation plan. The other question you asked me to cover was to give some update, and I think you're going to do that in your presentation around the parents who are going to Jefferson City on February the 9th. We are working with them in securing 2 buses for that to take place, working with Ms. Emily Kelso for that to take place. So those are, I think, the updates that you asked me to cover. I know there's some questions you have relative to the agenda items, so I can open it up at this point in time for any questions that anybody might have to the agenda items.
Dr. Adams, there was one other item that I wanted you to address to the full board, and that was around the Economic Development Task Force Board.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Sonia has some more relevant information relative to that than myself at this point in time. Do you mind, Ms. Sonia?
There's a economic tax development board that was designed, I think, I'm gonna have to look back, but I think this was a while back, like in
3 years
2017.
ago. It was 3 years ago.
Yeah, and so it would be a board who would discuss mainly the expansion of the MetroLink throughout the city. And so on that board are some appointees from the different legislative bodies in the city, including SLPS, but we never made any recommendations, or we don't have any representation. So I just wanted to bring that up to us, and maybe we can make recommendations as a board and get those spots filled.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? What's the purpose again of that council?
Mainly, so that would be the council that will make big decisions with if we get funding and then the city decides to have a discussion about expanding the MetroLink, that would be the board that would have those discussions and get to vote on whatever those recommendations are.
So that was just one example then.
I think it was specifically for that purpose.
Oh,
It
for the
could
Metro.
expand beyond that, but the board was formed specifically for the MetroLink
oh,
expansion
Okay,
conversation.
because there was an article about it that in this last weekend about their decisions were not good regarding the MetroLink, how it
Yeah.
didn't help the inner city.
Yes, which is why I think it's important that we get,
Mhm.
our
Okay.
representatives on there, since this is our
Ah,
district and our families on
okay.
there.
I'd like to turn our attention to the February consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
I just had maybe two questions at this point about the research practice collaborative, which is 28-2207, and I see we've got some information here, so I
Yes.
appreciate that. I just sort of from an operational or a governance perspective, so there's an MOU, and it's our typical MOU that was attached to the consent agenda. It looks like this started in 2018, but maybe it was just sort of talking and then really got off the ground in 2020, and it looks like they've already started doing some research. I guess, why do they need an MOU? What's the purpose?
At this point in time, they will be asking for data relative to the focus right now is on homeless. So they're trying to collect data across the region on the notion of homelessness such that they can build some research or data that can allow there to be more funding directed in that space. So the MOU would allow them to us to share data with them, which we don't do right now. So that's basically what the purpose is. Dr. Williams is supposed to be the co-chair of this particular committee, or this particular effort. But at this point in time, we have not shared anything with them. We've had some meetings with them, but we've not shared anything. And we will be sharing de-identified data, not any specific student, but overall where students are homeless and that kind of stuff. That's the research they're doing right now. It may morph into other kinds of things, but right now they're strictly looking at homelessness and transition students.
Okay. And the MOU doesn't just cover that particular research, it's whatever research they delve into, it seemed like.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
And the only other thing that gives me pause is in the FAQ, how is the SRPC funded? And it talks about the group will seek a mix of philanthropic support, research and implementation grants. I guess if there's any way to put any guardrails or protections, or at least maybe just say publicly that, there are certain philanthropic groups that are not supportive of public education, that are very active in this city, that would really love to participate in a program like this. And so that would be the thing that I think makes me a little nervous about this. So I don't know if there's any way to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Mr. Davis, at this point in time, as discreet as I can be, those groups are not engaged today. But to your point, making sure that there's some language that we, similar to as we talked about in closed session regarding the Clay agreement, that it comes back to us before if some other philanthropic groups come in, we can write some language in the MOU to try to clarify that.
Thank you. I'm sorry that it has to be that way, but
that's
I
fine.
don't feel we'd be doing our job if we didn't bring that up.
Fair enough. We will address that as we do the MOU and make sure it's in there before we bring it back to the board on the 8th.
Regarding the research practice collaborative, and I won't ask other questions, but does it address what's going to be accomplished from this in the information you gave us?
Yes, ma'am, it
Okay,
should.
great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank
And
you.
if there's some more questions, we can address them for you,
Okay.
but yes.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions relative to the consent agenda?
Yes, I do have a question in regards to approving the designated project manager for the design and build for the Frable Playground.
Give us.
I'm sorry, the number is 02-08-22-04.
Yes, ma'am.
And I wanted to understand why this particular project needed a project manager, because I was under the impression that MSD was handling this particular project alone.
MSD is providing us with the money because it is our property. We don't allow anyone else to do any kind of work on our property. So they give us the money. We go out and follow our legal processes, which is putting out an RFP, getting someone to build it, and then they reimburse us for the costs. So that is why we don't allow anybody to do any work on our property. It is our property. So we have to legally put out the RFP, they reimburse us for the cost. You're welcome.
The cost to pay the project manager?
The cost for everything, project manager, construction, everything.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that her question was answered.
Yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
last week, the board approved $150 that we are
Mhm.
contributing to this project.
Mhm.
And then MSD is covering costs. And then there's some other dollars coming from other entities across the city that are attached to green schoolyard programs, some at the city level, some at the state level. So total project is about $1 million, with the board paying about 15%.
Donna, is your question? Okay.
And to your question, Ms. Jones, we are looking, there's an October 15th deadline for a second MSD project. We've been able to have some conversation with them, but October 15, 2022, and we will be in line to look at another funding from MSD to look at a site in North St. Louis.
I appreciate that because I just feel like it's something that's really necessary. And I did mention Herzog because I've looked at that slab of asphalt for years and years, and I just think an area that would be educational and outdoors like the one being provided to Frable would do a lot for the community and our students. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? Okay, thank you. Before we close out this session, I would like to share with the community and with this board as well, that the Board of Directors of the Missouri School Board Association has put forth a resolution to support a moratorium on the opening of new schools in the city of St. Louis until a comprehensive citywide plan for education is developed. And so we want to, on behalf of the board, I want to commend the Missouri School Board Association for standing with us. And with that, can we get a motion to close?
Motion to close, to adjourn?
Second.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Yes.